Welcome everybody to the Gaming Advisory Board meeting. We will get this meeting called to order. Why don't we start off with a roll call of attendance? And Susan, would I just do that?
Oh, you want me to? It's up to you.
Go ahead, why not? You're here.
Alexander? Edwards?
Present.
Farrell?
Present.
Flores?
She's not.
Ibarra? Present. Spitali?
Here.
Zaney?
Here.
Torres? Benez?
Here.
Wielgos?
Here.
Talon?
Here. Very good. I think we have 9 present and 2 absent. And for the record, I did get information from Darlene Flores that she did not have the information for the meeting, so we will make sure that gets corrected for the next work session and meeting. So welcome everybody. I'm Phil Talon. I'm the Chief of Staff for the City of Hammond, which also makes me the chairman of the Gaming Advisory Board. Happy to be here, excited about it. Just quickly, so the folks that are watching know, Mayor has 5 appointees on the Gaming Advisory Board, which are Sharon Zaney, Darlene Flores, Eileen Ibarra, Andrea Edwards, and Marty Wielgus. And the council has 5 appointees on the Gaming Advisory Board, which is Melissa Farrell, Councilman Torres, Councilwoman Alexander, Councilman Spitali, and Councilwoman Venez. So welcome everybody. Excited that we're all going to be working together to go through all the applications for all the grants that we're looking at potentially giving out. Besides this meeting, we have 2 more dates set. The next one would be April 28th, and then if needed, the last one currently scheduled is May 5th. For both of those dates, the work study session starts at 4:00 p.m. and the official meeting that we're on right now will start at 5:00 p.m. If we have not completed the application process and grant award process at that time, then we would schedule an additional date at that 3rd meeting. This year is a little different than it has been in the past because of COVID. We did not have the Gaming Advisory Board last year, and also because of COVID, we're starting off with a lot less funds this year than we have had in the past. I think a typical grant session, we would give out somewhere between $550,000 and $650,000, and for this year we have $309,351.81 to grant to organizations. So for those that are watching and are paying attention, we just want to be very straightforward that unfortunately, because the funding is a lot lower than it has been in the past, obviously the awards are probably going to be lower than they have been in the past. And just want everybody to know we're going to do the best we can to get money to the organizations that are doing a lot of great work out there, but we are limited in what we have. For example, the application requests that we've received this year were a total of $1.3,925.50. So that means we literally have to cut out about $1 million in all the requests that we've received this year, which obviously is not going to be fun for us. After this application period, and that includes the 3 meetings I just mentioned, we probably will wait until next year at the same time to open up the application process again. That's a little different than what we've told some organizations, so I want to make sure that's out there in the public. We probably will not be having a fall application period, and the reason for that is if we wait until next year at the same time, we believe we will have the approximate amount of money that we've been able to give out in the past, somewhere in the $600,000 range. Now that is all predicated on a lot of different factors, including gaming dollars and revenue that's brought in the city. Obviously we've seen that COVID has had a devastating effect on us, and that obviously can continue. But that gives you a general idea of what our goal is. I've made a suggestion to all the members of our group to start off with a max of $10,000 award for each organization. If we go above and beyond that number, there are going to be many, many organizations on this list that are going to have to be denied. So what we're going to do for the public out there that's watching, we're not going to be making motions and seconds on every single grant application. We're basically going to have a discussion on each one, and then we're going to write down what we believe is an appropriate grant amount for a group. And then by the end of the last session, we will have one motion and second, hopefully we'll all be in agreement, or at least have enough votes that we'll be able to approve all of the grants that we are going to be talking through during this meeting. So hopefully that makes sense to the public. Other than that, there's a lot of organizations asking for money. We only have 1/4 of what's been requested. So I just want to make it clear to the public and the folks that are watching live that we're going to do the best we can to help all the groups out there that are applying. We ask for a little bit of understanding in that we just don't have the funding that we have in the past because of the situation that we're in. So with that, unless we have any questions or comments from any of our Gaming Advisory Board members, we could start going through each application. We will go through, I believe, approximately 15 applications at this first meeting, and then we will close off the meeting for today and then pick back up at the next meeting on April 28th. Are there any questions or concerns or comments? All right, if not, why don't we begin? The applications are put in order, alphabetical order. So they're not any specific order other than alphabetical. And I don't want organizations to think if they're at the end that that means the money could be gone at that point. What we're going to do as we go through, we'll be having a running tally of where we're at. And at the end, if we are short, then we will end up going back and tweaking some of the grant amounts. So just because we are saying we are in approval of a certain amount at this time, that does not mean that the grant amount might be changed by the time we get to an official action or motion of approving the application grants. That also means that if there's money left over by the end of our discussions on all the organizations' applications, that we could go back and actually add funds to some of the awards that we are going to be giving. So just want to make that clear to everybody. So with that, let's start with the first application that we have, which is the American Legion Hammond Post 168.
Mr. President, if I may, do you want to just briefly let everybody know that some of us members sit on some of these boards? If you can explain to the public on how that will be handled.
Absolutely. Great point, Mr. Wielgus. So we've had a discussion to make sure that everybody understands that if we are board members of organizations that have applied, we are going to abstain from the conversation about the grant amount or award amount for that organization. Also, if there's any of members that are in either mayor's appointees or the council appointees that receive benefit from an organization that has applied, we've asked them to abstain from the conversation. So we are making sure we're not going to be participating in conversations if we have any type of influence or receive any benefit from the organization. All right, very good. And I ask that each board member can mention that as we bring up the application. If you are a board member or if you receive benefit, please let us know early on as we announce the application.
Mr. President.
Councilman Spitali?
The one we're starting off with now, I'm a member of the American Legion.
Okay, very good. Councilman Spitali will not participate in the conversation. The request from the American Legion Hammond Post 168 is $23,236. I think a lot of us are familiar with the American Legion and what they do. What is the pleasure of the board?
Well, Mr. President, we see the American Legion Post 168 across the city at our parades, various events. They're very proactive in the city of Hammond. My recommendation would be $10,000.
We have a recommendation for what we're considering the max amount for this first round for the applications. Do we have any other comments? Any questions or concerns? Okay, let's mark them down for 10,000 for now, and we will go on to the next application. The next one is the American Veterans Collection, Inc. They have put an application in, application request for $16,000. What is the recommendation of the board?
I would recommend the granting of the $10,000. They have done quite a bit of work in Hammond.
Very good. Mrs. Farrell is recommending the $10,000 award amount for the American Veterans Collection. Do we have any other questions, concerns, comments? Okay, let's mark them down for 10,000, excuse me. Next, we have the Anthem Church. They put an application request in for $4,000. By the way, for the viewing public that's out there, in the application it does talk about what they're going to use the funding for, but some of the language or some of the wordage they use are 2 or 3 pages long. So we can, sometimes give you a brief understanding of what they're requesting the money for. In this situation, they want to have an Adopt a Block program, outreach program that they say adds value to community, it reaches out to and restores pride and lets the community know that people care and are willing to take time out to help anyone that might be in need, is what they listed.
Mr. President, I would suggest to the members that we do half at $2,000.
We have a recommendation to do $2,000 for Anthem Church. Do we have any other comments or questions or concerns?
I agree. 2,000.
We have an agreement? Okay, let's mark them down for 2,000. And we will move on to the next application. The next application is the Association for the Wolf Lake Initiative. They have put an application request in for $600.
I suggest we give them the full amount of the $600.
We have a recommendation from...
It's a very modest request.
It is a very modest request indeed. I think that might be our lowest application request. And a lot of us are familiar with the Wolf Lake Initiative as well. So we have a recommendation to do the entire amount requested, which is $600. Any questions, concerns? If not, let's mark them down for the $600, and we will move on to the next application. The next application is for Bishop Knoll Institute. They have put an application request in for $60,000.
President, I'd like to give him $10,000.
We have a recommendation from Councilman Spitali to do the max $10,000 first round award. Are there any comments, questions, concerns? Okay. If not,
Just for the record, apparently they are looking to upgrade their science lab and renovate that. And Also, they state that 43% of their enrollment is with Hammond students. So I'm in agreement with the 10,000.
Thank you, Councilwoman Venez. Anybody else have any comments or concerns or questions? All right, let's mark them down for 10,000. And we'll move to the next one. Next application is for books, brushes, and bands. They have put an application request in for $25,000.
This is Melissa. I need to abstain. I'm on that board.
Okay. Ms. Farrell will abstain from the books, brushes, and bands request. I think many of us are familiar with their programs and what their initiatives and what they do, and I know they've been in Hammond for a very long time, and Michelle Golden does a great job. I think we'd all agree on that.
Mr. President, I would recommend that we give $10,000.
Okay, we have a recommendation for the full $10,000 award. Are there any other comments or questions, concerns?
I am in agreement with that with regret because they do such wonderful work. But given the position we're in, $10,000.
Agreed, and I think this is one maybe we could put an asterisk next to it, and maybe if we get to the end and there are some additional funds available, we can come back and look at this one as well. But let's mark them down for $10,000 now. Okay, move to the next application. It is the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Northwest Indiana, the Hammond Boys and Girls Club. They put a request in for $10,000. I actually spoke up on this during the study session. This year, the city of Hammond is giving them a check for $200,000 to help with the renovation of their facility in Hammond. And I know it worked as it worked to actually leverage funding from another donor who put quite a few dollars into their facility. So knowing that we're giving them a check for $200,000, I would suggest we pass on this at this time, knowing they're getting a much larger amount.
I'm in agreement with that.
I would agree also.
Yes.
Okay, with that, so we'll put that we're passing right now. And we'll move on to the next application. The next one is a company called Cash Charity Company, and they put a request in for $4,000. We had a discussion on this one as well, and what we're realizing is they are using the money to give to a lot of the same organizations that are applying to this board. So there was some thought to passing on this application, since we will be making awards to a lot of the same organizations that they are talking about helping. Are there any questions or comments or concerns on this one?
I'm in agreement with that.
I'm in agreement also.
Marion.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and pass on this one and go to the next one. The next application is the Catholic Charities Diocese of Gary. They have an application request amount of $25,000. What is the pleasure of the board? And I think this one, again, it's a longer explanation of what they're using out the money for, but they talk about the mission of advocating for the poor and vulnerable, and they talk about utility assistance, rent and mortgage assistance, and those types of programs.
No, Mr. President, we had just learned earlier in the week that the county has come up with a program to be able to help renters throughout Lake County who are unable to pay their rent bills to the landlords. And what we were told is that it was going to be 80% of the median income for Lake County, which almost qualifies a large number of people for that assistance. So with that being done, I would suggest to my fellow board members that we kind of put this one aside so that maybe we can get some more information.
That's fair. And in conjunction with that, I know we in the city of Hammond also have these similar type programs that help with certain housing needs and things of that nature. So Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I'm in agreement with that.
I am too.
Yes, I would be in agreement with that.
Okay, we'll put it to the side for now, and know that there's a possibility we can look back at it at the end. Thank you. Next application is for the Challenger Learning Center of Northwest Indiana. They put an application request amount in of $10,000. And both Marty Wilgus and myself are board members on the Challenger, so we will abstain from the conversation. I will just ask what is the thoughts from the other gaming advisory board members.
I would recommend that we give them the full 10,000.
We have a recommendation for the 10,000. Are there any other thoughts?
I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement with that as well. So many kids from the Hammond schools that go to the Challenger Learning Center have great memories from there, so yes.
Okay, so we have 3 people in agreement. Any other comments? All right, let's mark them down for 10,000. And we will move on to the next application. The next application is the Downtown Hammond Council. They put an application request in for $30,000. What are the thoughts from board members?
Mr. President, I would suggest starting at the $10,000 max.
We have a recommendation for the $10,000 for the Downtown Hammond Council. Are there any other thoughts?
I agree with that.
I agree also.
I agree also.
All right.
As well.
Sounds like we're all in
I agree.
agreement. Let's mark them down for the 10,000. I think we discussed, we know that Downtown Hammond Council has been there a long time and is doing their best to bring as much vitality to downtown Hammond as they can over X amount of years. So kudos to them. So we'll mark that down and move to the next one. The next application is from Four Quarters for Life Community Organization. They have an application request amount in for $15,000.
Mr. President, I think in our session prior to the public session that we had talked about there could be some employees of the city that have more information about this organization. And so I would suggest to my fellow members that we have a chance to talk to whatever employees know more about this to be able to give us that information. And so I'd ask that we put this on hold.
So unless anybody has any other comments, we will put it on hold and have a discussion with several folks that we know more about the organization. We can get more information, and then at the next meeting, which would be on the 28th, we'll bring this application forward again. Does that make sense?
Yes.
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 Okay, so we'll put that to the side for now. The next application is for the Franciscan Health Prenatal Assistance Program. Their application request is for $25,000. Do we have any recommendations?
I'd like to recommend we give them $10,000. I think it's a good program, helping, young people out with getting diapers and stuff.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add, Mr. President, the Franciscan, as we all know, has been a good corporate partner with the city for a long, long time, and they're vital to the city, and they do a lot of good work. So I'd like to also comment with Sharon's suggestion at 10.
Very good. I can add that the Rick Peltier, who's the executive director of the Franciscan Health Foundation of Northern Indiana, is a great leader for this area and does a lot of great things for us. So I'm definitely a fan of his and want to put that on record as well. Any other comments? Questions? If not, let's go ahead and mark them down for the 10,000. Okay. The next application is for Girls on the Run of Northwest Indiana. Their application request amount is for $20,000. Comments?
Mr. President?
Councilwoman Venez.
Yes, I would recommend that we put this one on hold until we get some more information.
Very good. Yes, we had the discussion earlier as well. We believe there's a few folks we want to talk to and ask some questions for this particular organization. So what we'll do is go ahead and pass on this so we can get more answers to some of the questions that we have, and then we will bring this application forth at the next meeting on the 28th. So with that, we are going to go ahead and stop there. We believe, based on looking at the applications and the conversations we've had and some of the information that we want to get, that we're going to be able to finalize this process in the remaining 2 meetings on April 28th and May 5th. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions or comments before we potentially have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. And doesn't sound like there are any. So we did put out a public expression for this meeting, and nobody signed up for it. Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to comment? Anybody on Zoom for public comments? Okay. So with that, we'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn by Councilwoman Venez. I think I heard a second by Councilman Spitali. Do we have to have a roll call vote for this, or no? I don't think so, right?
Well, I think we want to wait because we may change them once we get through all of them, right? Because we may have some money left. So I would think that we go through all of them and then do the roll call vote because we may add more to some of the ones we already did today.
Yes. No, I agree with that 100%. I meant, do we need a roll call vote to adjourn, though?
Roll call.
What's that? Well, we had the
I was correcting Marty.
We had a motion to adjourn in a second, so we're good there. So if not, how about this? All in favor, say aye.
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 We are now adjourned.